Hi guys. I know this is a bad angle and I didn't make anything look nice or anything, but if I don't get this video out, I'll never do it. So, you're probably like me, where, if you're watching this video, where you've been obsessed with the royals since Diana. And I'm 40 years old, so in 97, I was just starting high school, and I remember the day like it was yesterday. I remember everything that happened that day, and I don't know why, but it seemed like it was because of her. Obviously, I have that special sparkle for her, and it means that I am biased towards her in all of the feuding and everything of the royal family. And I'm an American, so I don't have the same kind of knowledge or foot in the game. You know what I mean? And I'm not a royalist, but I do really care. And because Harry and Will's are my age, I always followed them and hoped that they would be okay. Now that all this has happened and things have gone where no one ever thought they could go, I guess I want to talk about the whole royal story, what I know to be true, not just what we keep hearing. A lot of the YouTube people that are reporting to us, they're giving us all the knowledge they get. The problem is none of it's facts unless it's corroborated. And if it's a hearsay, it's still not a fact. So all the books that we've been reading and all the shows we've been watching, we don't know if they're real or not. But what I want to do today is just kind of go over from all the books I've read and all the things I've been looking at since 97. Well, since like maybe 95, I guess. I just want to talk about what I've noticed. It doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean I have any special knowledge per se. I just want to use my knowledge of people to maybe help with this situation. I am going to be doing cards at the end, and I'm not a historian, I'm a tarot reader, it's different. But I do want to talk about this before we do a reading because I really think people are not understanding the truth about these people that live in this highly rarefied form. You can believe or not believe, you can look up or not look up. I'm just doing this for your entertainment and education, I guess you could say. It doesn't mean that I'm going to get it all right, but I'm going to try. So, pretty much what I know about the royals that are alive today is that they came from German stock and they changed their name to Windsor so that they could have a more English sounding last name. This was at the turn of the century, 1911, I think. So, now if I say dates, they may be right, they may be wrong, but what I'm trying to show you is the story overall. This is kind of weird, but I just feel like I have to do it. I don't know why. So, there's always been cover-ups with government. There's always been cover-ups to protect us, but also to hurt us, and meaning the people. And there's always been people trying to get into the power, aristocracy, or government, and people trying to get out of it. It's just been like that because that's how people are. There's always been scandals. There's always been addictions. There's always been cheating. There's always been lies and extra children out of wedlock, stuff like that. The problem is that when you get with, it isn't a problem, I guess you could say, but it is for middle class sensibilities, that aristos their moral compass is more based on person to person than like rules. Do you know what I mean? And so the Windsor family, the Mountbatten family, would be part of this. they would believe that they are above the rules because they can break rules if they want to, usually get away with it because of their status. Now, in old times, this was important to how feudalism worked. Now, it doesn't have a place. And our government, even in America, doesn't have a place. Both of them do not serve a purpose that makes any sense at this point. But we are stuck with them. And I'm sure that over many, many centuries, a lot of people have thought and said just what I said. We just have to deal with it. Do the best we can with our lives and help others and maybe join things, but maybe write letters. But right now, we think we're getting a lot of information online, but we're actually not getting facts. And aristos can tell us what to think too, like through the media. So Harry is correct. I mean, his whole family is spun by and woven by the media. He's correct. So they're kind of the only thing that the royals can't control besides their own selves. So, in other words, people are looking at these people and being jealous, but also being resigned to the fact that, oh, they're better than me because they have more money, they have more status. And that kind of seeps into the culture. And in Britain, we see this right now happening with all these nuances being where people are proud of the monarchy. But then there's this big glaring elephant in the room of that money that you give to them could be going to your children to go to college. It doesn't exactly make sense. Now, what I want to say is here, we have to think of this story as not making sense, as not having common sense, because we don't think like them. We don't act like them. We don't have the same kind of goals. And it's really hard to understand and even have a conversation where you know the boundaries when you're talking to someone who's not like you in that way. It's so rarefied that they do not think even like us. They don't even speak like us. It's all part of this family that's been stuck together, fighting the media and fighting to keep their place. So they're very defensive. And when we talk about them in the media being just plebes, they don't like it. Most of them decide, okay, I'm going to use it for my own advantage. But Harry, I guess because of the way he views his mom and how she died, he has a crusade in his mind that he wants, now that he doesn't have a job per se, he wants that to be his job. But we'll come back to that. So when Charles was younger, he actually didn't have sex for a really long time until he was in his 20s. But when he did, his uncle Mountbatten, John, I think, he was so obsessed with getting him the right bride, and he kind of had his own niece in mind, that he kind of pushed Charles into becoming a playboy. And Charles learned how to do that. He learned how to talk to ladies better. I think he got his ears fixed. I can't exactly say yes or no on that, but his ears seems like they used to be out further if you look back in the 60s and 70s. You can see his ears, and they do seem to change to where they are now. But he was raised without his mom and dad because they were so busy. But there's other reasons too. And if we look at him and the actions he takes, the things that he said before, the book that he put out with his permission, Charles, it's really odd because we think we can use our common sense and people's skills to understand what he's going through and why he's saying the things he's saying, but unfortunately we cannot. It isn't that we aren't capable, it's that we are ignorant of that situation. We've never been in it. He's never been in ours, and so he can't understand ours either. And that means he can't understand the people he's ruling. He could try to do the best he can, as in good and bad, but once again, aristos don't see it like we do. They just don't. That's why I chose not to be part of that world. A lot of people are like, well, no one would ever give up their money or anything for any reason. And that's not true. You have to be free. It's true. You have to be free to be your own self and do your own thing. And if you're born with certain sensibilities that are extremely moralized, being in a higher echelon is kind of against you. I can't exactly explain that better unless I would talk more, probably like an hour long. But there's a reason why you don't want to be part of that if you want to have certain things in your life that I like, But I gave up to be part of that. Now I don't look the same. I don't act the same. I probably don't speak the same. I don't live the same. And I'm estranged from my family. But in a certain way. But I'm just not like them, and I was born different. I think part of that has to do with why I do tarot now. And why a lot of people we think of ourselves as born spiritual, born different. Now, Charles and his mother, sometimes it seems like they would dabble in religion and morals, or even be really interested, or even try to put different things in their life in place that would help them do those. But we don't know that. We don't know what Charles believes. No matter what he even says in public about, I think all faiths are fine, but I'm going to be in charge of the Anglican Church. We don't know why he's doing it, and we don't know if it's true, what he's really saying. Politicized things are always going on around him, and so it behooves him not to tell the truth if he wants to keep his position, unfortunately. So Charles is kind of this like selfish, neglected individual, raised by a monarchy, and his mom and dad are busy. He has 3 younger siblings that all look up to him, but they also don't like him because he's a bit affected and a little bit different. Andrew was very popular. Everyone thought Anne was mean. Everyone thought Edward was gay. And it was crazy. I mean, people don't remember this, that in the 70s and 80s, it's just like now. There's no difference. The big giant hubbubaloo, whatever, that we have now is exactly the same. It just looks different because it's in social media. It's not like in people's living rooms with their TVs, etc. But we forgot history, and so that's why it's important to remember this, that he was a loner. So when Lord Mountbatten and Her Majesty the Queen decided that Charles was 30, it was time for him to stop dilly-dallying with married ladies like Camilla and get on with life and do better. So even though Camilla and him had a special agreement of best friends, I don't know if they were in love or not, but they were being sexual together ever since, I think there was a certain point in Camilla's marriage maybe in 79 even, where, or 78, 79, where she had a special thing with her husband where he could be with whoever he wanted and she could be with whoever she wanted. But they still loved each other as more friends. So Charles felt left out, and he's like, well, I want someone too. He actually did agree with his uncle and his mom that it was time. Now, him and his dad didn't have a very good relationship, as in his dad thought of him as namby-pamby and wanted him to change and be more manly, not as affected, not as intellectually curious. The problem is that I don't think Charles is intellectually curious, but that's just my own opinion. A lot of people around him say that he's smart and interested in everything new and curious, but we can't say if that's true or not. And we can't say if he's a narcissist or not. We can't say if Camilla's a narcissist or not. But they were both using people around them to keep the secret. And even though Camilla's husband decided to go along with that, the servants didn't want to deal with that, but they had to. All these employees were beholden to these two families, and here they are keeping this horrible secret in their eyes from the world. So eventually everyone just accepted that Charles and Camilla were going to be selfish about this, because the reason why he wasn't allowed to marry Camilla was because she actually was already going to marry this other guy. But also, she had sex with many people before she got married. And even though Charles had too, there used to be this thing where the future queen had to be a virgin when she got married, to make sure that there was no way that the kid could be someone else's before she was in the royal fold. And to kind of give credence to make sure she was healthy, etc. Now, these examinations and whatnot seem barbaric and disgusting. I don't really know how they were, but the only one people know about for real is Marie Antoinette, and how she was treated during all this, and how she was treated during childbirth and everything. We can kind of use that as an extreme example of what a future queen would be like. And so to Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth, Camilla could not marry her son. She was not good enough because of her actions. And she also was like a distant cousin who was lower down on the totem pole. So she also wasn't exactly like the best. Another thing about Camilla is that she loves horses and dogs, and she acts like them. She's a slob. Like, she eats constantly, she spills food, she drinks. She acts like a man. And Charles acts like the lady sometimes. Kind of funny. But, they go together, I guess. So Diana came on the scene. Obviously, nothing worked out. She may have had mental illness, who knows, but she decided to use, in the beginning, maybe it was to hurt Charles, but she decided to use her power for good, I think. And think of all the beautiful things she's done, and how the people changed because they met her, and how she would touch AIDS patients and hold children that were covered in flies. People never saw this before, and it changed the world. She actually changed the world. I know that you may not want to go into that, but go ahead and study her. She's not what this is about. But she was an entity unto herself, and to put her as part of the royal family, her and Sarah, they just saw things more common sense wise than their husbands did, because they didn't grow up as a Windsor. It's different. And even though Spencers were very high and used to have kings and queens in their family, they just weren't raised the same, where everyone's staring at you. So her and Charles didn't get along. They didn't have much in common. They did try sometimes. But then they had these two beautiful boys that everyone loved in the whole world. We all wanted them to succeed. Who cared already? And so Diana dying in the crash, and the boys being on their own and then going to school and realizing they only had their dad now, their grandma and their grandpa, to help raise them, besides whoever else would decide they would like to help. Like Tiggy, the controversial babysitter / nanny, whatever. I personally don't think that her and Charles were ever together, but who knows, So things went on, and Camilla wheedled her way in, even though the queen did not want her there. And Charles got his way as well. And so Camilla became became his wife after a while. And now she is queen consort. It's a sad state of affairs if you think back of how she got there and how mean she was to people to get there, aka Diana. But it doesn't matter I guess, because in the end, Her Majesty said Camilla could be there, and she gave in to her son. And there's nothing any of us can do about it. So she is the queen now. Now that Queen Elizabeth is gone. So we have Camilla, who does not want to raise the two boys. She'll help every now and again, but she's not nurturing person like that. She can do that with animals, but not with people. And that's actually how Queen Elizabeth was. So it's kind of funny that Charles picked Camilla, an animal person, just like his mother. So anyway, things went on, and eventually Wills met Kate, and it took him 7 or 8 years to propose because he didn't want to have a divorce and he was freaked out. But there's a part of this that no one talks about, which is that he was getting drunk a lot. He was partying a lot. He was being with lots of girls, just like we say Harry was, and Harry was too. But the thing is, the news had this understanding with Charles that Harry would be seen in the news as bad, but not Wills, because William had to be the perfect king. And that's what they did. They cleaned up the media when Charles was concerned too all the time. But anyway, so Harry was kind of like the scapegoat in the media, but he actually told them he told his parents, or he told his family and Wills, that he would always be there and support him. And so he knew that he would get the bad eyes on him. That would be okay. He actually said that was okay. And he accepted that. Now, Wills, over time, Kate was like, F this. You're being a prick. I don't want to wait for you anymore. Everyone was calling her Waity Katie, and that's really mean, not in the grand scheme of things, but she was definitely upset. She wanted to get married and thought he loved her. Why didn't he marry if he loved her, Now everything's fine, it seems. But you could say both of them became alcoholics. And you could even say that a lot of the Windsors are alcoholics, but we can't say that it hurt their function. We just know they're hard drinkers. And we don't know if they're addicted. We just know that they use alcohol to help themselves feel better or to get through hard times. They've all admitted to this, the ones in this generation. So that's really interesting. Even Anne, who seems to want to live by the rules. She has secret drinking too. I don't know in England if this is a big thing or not. In America, we kind of do everything here. We take everything, we try everything. And it's not seen as scary like it used to be. But the problem is more and more people have addictions now, probably if we're allowed to have all that. I don't really know. That's going off on a tangent. But so anyway, let me think here. I don't remember where I was. I do that all the time. Okay, yeah. So Harry was best friends with Kate and Will. They got married. Kate and Will started having children. Everything seemed fine, but Will came to his senses and was like, okay, we're going to get married. Don't leave. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. And that's how, people saw Harry with Chelsea and were like, yeah, I get it. That makes total sense. They go together. They're the same kind of person. It makes total sense. But she decided that she said this too, so it's probably true. She decided the reason why she didn't want to be with him anymore wasn't because of his drinking or anything like that, or his immaturity or something like that. It was because she did not want media scrutiny. She was sick of it. She was sick of people talking about her body and clothes and about her drinking. And she knew that if she needed to get a regular job, it would be very bad. So she broke up with Harry, married someone else, and now has kids. Now, I think that really, really affected him because he was counting on her. He assumed that she would always be there to be the person he married when the time came. But it may not be like that. But it seems like when you see the pictures of them looking at each other and stuff, they were in love in a way, like they were best friends in a way. It seemed like they were really good together and they had a lot of fun. Both of them being afraid to give up freedom, in other words. But no one wants to. So Chelsea left him. And Kate was going to leave Wills too, but she eventually he eventually came around and then she stayed. It's really hard to be part of that family because they're so bizarre and because of the media problems. So I think that Harry decided at that point he was going to blame the media for a lot of stuff because he was sick of them hurting him. It used to be people would put cameras in your face and they could even put them on your body. And if you pushed them, you would get in trouble. I remember in 2009, I think he pushed a photographer onto the ground or something like that. But this happens. A lot of men cannot handle this. It becomes, especially soldiers, like when media's in your face all the time with these giant cameras clicking and these men are saying things to make you look at them. You just get so sick of it. And with men, their temper and testosterone can flare. Ours too, but it just seems like lashing out to them makes total sense. Like, get away from me. I don't want you physically by me. Unfortunately, you can't. You have to control yourself. So he just decided to have a crusade against them. And when Meghan came, he kind of used that as an excuse to leave and start doing his own thing. Because he was sick of being second fiddle, and now he was going to be sixth fiddle. It wasn't fair to him what he thought. So when he met Meg, he saw that as an excuse to get out. But also he saw her as a mother figure. He saw her as all these things she wanted him to see. I don't think we need to talk about Meghan. She's a narcissist who, it's obvious, she just married him for money. There's no... Even though you can't use common sense with the royals, you can use it with regular people. She's a regular person. And she definitely, oh God, definitely is a user. She's a what we would call in middle America or middle class, a bad person. Someone you don't want to talk to. Someone who can ruin your life. And especially for women, you do not want her around. Because she's always going to be your enemy. You can never trust her. Most people saw this. I'm sure that the Queen and Charles knew who she was. Everyone's saying, oh, they didn't know, but they've been around people that are like her, because famous people and aristos can become narcissistic easily. So anyway, she saw him as a weak link, somebody she could control, and she took him. Now, he's not the smartest man, but it seems like he has some scruples like he used to. He used to want to help people, and he would play with kids and help them and stuff. Now, she doesn't even like kids, and he and her seem to be opposites, like he's a codependent. All these narcissistic things he's doing, it could be he's just mirroring her narcissism and he's an empath, or it could be that he's just really dumb, or he thinks there's like this big plan behind it, or this all is a big thing to protect Camilla and Charles and keep people from looking bad at them during coronation, because you cannot rule out the fact that everyone hates Camilla still. Really, in the back of everyone's mind, she's an upstart. She's a liar. She's someone who cheated to get where she is. And that's what Meghan did. Even Camilla and Charles being in love or not, they hurt people to get where they are. And Meghan hurt people to get where she is. And so now it seems like Harry's doing that too. And it also seems like maybe he was doing that before. But the problem is that we don't know. We don't know Will and Harry's real selves, because all we see is media and what we're told. So unfortunately, we can only look at their faces and pictures and guess and things like that. But as far as Meg is concerned, there's only one agenda: herself, money, herself. That's all. So she's kind of him believing in her and stuff, and seeing her as a chariot, as a jettison to get where he needs to go. They both are kind of using each other. Maybe in love in some way. I don't really understand. And I don't know about the children, like if they're their own children or not. But if you look at the pictures, they look just like Harry and Meghan combined. They look like they belong to them. I don't care if she didn't have them or not in her own body, if she's a surrogate. In LA, it's like way popular to do that because you don't want to, actresses don't want to ruin their body change the body to get bigger, because then they won't get any roles. And that isn't vanity. They actually have to do that to make sure they get a role, you know? And when you're older, it's even worse. You have to be thin as the younger people to still get the job. So Meghan kind of failed at a bunch of stuff, but she won because she got Harry. Now, all this book and all this stuff he's putting out, I think that really is how he feels and thinks, but he just is like deluded because of his obsessions. And being in the army for 10 years and Will being in for 7, that makes people different too. I have a military family background, but not my immediate family, so I don't understand it the same. But I know that it makes you think in a certain linear way that helps you survive. But then when you go back to regular, looking at all the nuances and gray areas and stuff is hard. Will had Kate to help him do that, but Harry had no one. So that's kind of sad. And now he's being shaped by a person who doesn't care about him and doesn't care about her own children, unfortunately. So where we are here is we're just seeing a bunch of people talking about what they think is happening about the coronation, about Charles and Camilla, about Will and Kate, about Harry and Meg, and what they're going to do, if they're going to come, why are they being so rude, why would he do this to his dad and everything. But if this isn't a big plot to protect Camilla, I think it's just him being Harry being totally confused and dumb about all of this. I could be wrong. But the confusion coming out of his camp is large. It's huge, the chaos and confusion. And I think that we could assume that that's coming from them, not just media. They are putting out things that don't make sense, those two, into the media. So we can't really understand why they're doing it, but we can know that we can just ignore it, that it's not correct, and that most of the things they're going to say actually are so untrue that believing them will hurt the nation in a certain way. So where we are now is that I had got readings that Will wasn't going to be the king that Harry was next time, and that something bad was going to happen to Will's so that he couldn't be the king. And then, like, what about his family and everything? I just want to redo this. I know that whenever I do a reading for something I really care about, like not a stranger or somebody or a thing, I have bias on me. And any reader who says they don't is lying. The thing is, if I read about or to one of my family members, I'll almost always get it wrong. At least something really big wrong, because I want a certain thing to happen. And I can't tell the difference, even if the cards are like saying a certain thing.